The mystery people. This is part 2. Last time we talked about a mysterious bloodline of 15% of the world's population. And as I said, scientists know very little about these people or their prehistory. But there are some interesting connections between them and Neanderthals. Be sure to go back and watch the previous videos called Esau, Edomites Today, and Who Are the Mystery People, Part 1. Today, we will continue the discussion about the secret bloodlines of these mysterious people. And we're really going to hone in on the Basque people. Let's do a recap of what the science shows. This is coming from European Journal of Human Genetics. And it says Basques show specific cultural, demographic, and genetic characteristics that have placed them as an isolated and unique population within Europe, such as their non-Indo-European language, Euskara. They have historically lived along the Western Pyrenees between Spain and France. All right, I'm going to drop down. It says, in particular, we genotype the most relevant variants of the systems and sequence 3 flanking regions surrounding the Rh genes in Basque and also in other populations for comparisons. Our results are in agreement with previous studies, the Basque representing the highest frequency of the Rhd deletion haplotype. Let's keep going. This article is also from the European Journal of Human Genetics. It says high density SNP genotyping detects homogeneity of Spanish and French Basque and confirms their genomic distinctiveness from other European populations. It says a recent study reported that Basques do not constitute a genetically distinct population, and that Basques from Spanish and French provinces do not show significant genetic similarity. These conclusions disagree with numerous previous studies and are not consistent with the historical and linguistic evidence that supports the distinctiveness of Basque. In order to further investigate this controversy, we have genotyped 83 Spanish Basque individuals and used these data to infer population structure based on more than 60,000 single nucleotide polymorphism of several European populations. Here, we present the first high throughput analysis, including Basque, from Spanish and French provinces, and show that all Basques constitute a homogeneous group that can be clearly differentiated from other European populations. All right, we'll keep going. I want to give you a better perspective of this area that we're talking about that's called Basque Country. So this is a very good visual for you to see this area. This is the Pyrenees Mountains, this area circled in red. It's between Spain and France. I also want you to take note of where Portugal is, to the left here. So if you've listened to some of the sessions that Benaya did on Portugal and their enslavement of Black Jews, then you'll understand the significance of this. But this is the area that we're referring to here that's known as Basque Country, this Pyrenees mountain area. Let's dig a little deeper. This article called Perennial Pyrenees was written in 2018. It's called The Mythology of Giants in the Pyrenees. I'm going to read some excerpts from this. So it says, throughout the Pyrenees, one finds constant references and representations of giants, be there the Basque, Gentilac, and Merwak, the mythological creatures of the dolmens and megaliths throughout that land. So a dolmen is this structure that you see on the right, similar to what you would see at Stonehenge. Okay, pay close attention to this part right here. It says speculation as to the etymological origins of the gentle or gentiliac are wide, but primarily revolve around a corruption of the Latin gentilis or Gentile as an epithet to refer to the pre-Roman and pre-Christian peoples of the Basque region, much like the use of the term paganus, which evolved from its original rustic reference to refer to pre-Christians in general. Let's keep going. So here was some interesting information that my sister sent to me by a scientist named David Noel. He says he's a Cambridge trained scientist, and additional information on him is found in the header. But he asked the question, what happened to the Neanderthals? So he wanted to know how the Neanderthals became the Basque. So from a combination of old and new evidence, it appears that at last we have a satisfactory answer to the age-old question of what happened to the Neanderthals. If the current reasoning is correct, their descendants are still with us, and we call them the Basque. He says one interesting facet of the Neanderthals is that they are believed to have had reddish hair and light skin. So red hair may be another marker of part of Neanderthal history. All right, we'll keep going. This is an article from ABC Science that you may want to read, and it is confirming that humans interbred with Neanderthals, and we can see the features referenced by David Noel, the light skin and the reddish color hair. Let's keep going to another one. Again, take note of the reddish color hair that you see here among these Neanderthals. So when you see pictures like this, you know what this is all about, right? These are those little white lies that we're uncovering. This is another reference that you can look into. It's a book by Mark Kurlansky called The Basque History of the World, and it's giving us some more insight. He says, a small people who number no more than 2.4 million, fewer than half of whom speak the official Basque language. They had little chance of maintaining an independent existence in the face of France and Spain. The boundary between these two countries was fixed 300 years ago on the crest of the Pyrenees. The Basque have always lived on both sides of the mountains. They learned early on that a reliable source of income could come from smuggling goods over an international border, which for them has never been more than a line on the map. At times, the goods were humans. So the Basque, according to him, are well known to have distinctive body characteristics. Kurlansky says, ample evidence exists that the Basque are a physically distinct group. He said their skulls tend to be built on a different pattern. And he also, of course, says that they are well known to have the highest percentage, around 33% of rhesus negative blood of any human population. And so he says they are regarded as the original source of this factor. That's a key point. He says this is where this source is coming from. So in the United States, some 15% of the European population are Rh negative, while the percentage in the Asian and Black population is much less than this. And usually if you find it in the Black population, it's because of the intermixing. So Kurlansky points out that the remarkable contributions the Basque have made to the world history were that they were explorers who connected Europe to the other continents in the age of exploration. This is a key point here that you cannot miss as well. I'm going to repeat that. They were the explorers who connected Europe to the other continents in the age of exploration, that particular time period. In trade, they were among the first capitalists experimenting with tariff-free international trade and monopoly breaking, and in the Industrial Revolution, they became leading shipbuilders. We talked about that last time. Also, steel makers and manufacturers. So, this leads me to my next point about the bloodline of well-known people who are connected to the Basque. Let's keep going. This is the million-dollar question right here. What was Christopher Columbus's heritage? It says the famed explorer was always searching for new places, but his lasting legacy has people searching for his true nationality. Now, this was updated in August of this year. This article, Was Columbus Secretly a Jew?, was coming from an opinion piece in CNN that's asking this question. And I'm sure most of us have heard this question before, but we're going to dig a little deeper into this. So I'll just highlight a few things from this. It says Columbus, who was known in Spain as Cristobal Colon and didn't speak Italian, signed his last will and testament on May 19, 1506, and made 5 curious and revealing provisions. 2 of his wishes: tithe 1/10 of his income to the poor and provide an anonymous dowry for poor girls, are part of Jewish customs. He also decreed to give money to a Jew who lived at the entrance of the Lisbon Jewish quarter. On these documents, Columbus used a triangular signature of dots and letters that resembled inscriptions found on gravestones of Jewish cemeteries in Spain. He ordered his heirs to use the signature in perpetuity. So use this signature forever. Let's take a look at what this looked like. So here is a picture of that signature from Mysterious Writing. Apparently they were saying in the original that it had a triangular shape. And they still don't know, the significance of this. Supposedly it's still a mystery as to why he wanted them to, use this way or write it that way. Additional information about Christopher Columbus is coming from Historic Life Leaves, called The Secret of Columbus Quarterly, June 1912, by Highland Clare Clerk. It says, to appreciate fully the findings of Mr. La Riega, it is necessary to know what the real name of Columbus was. As signed his contract with the sovereigns, it was Cristobal Colon and not Columbus, the latter having been adopted by him, as it would appear, from its belonging to noted navigators of that name under whom he served, or for other reasons. This article was written by Steve Bass, a historian, in February of 2016. He says Columbus or Colon might have been Basque. It says many Basques were associated with Christopher Columbus, who may have been Basque himself. He goes on to say, not much is known of Christopher Columbus's early life, except that the history books say he was probably born in Genoa, Italy. His parents' heritage is unknown, yet people have questioned whether Columbus was Basque. All right, it says 6 Basque ships and a total of 16 sail in July with many Basque crewmen. Juan Lacosa is master of the Mar Galante and is chosen by Columbus to be his official cartographer. A total of 1,500 men make the trip. Among the other Basques on this second voyage are the following, several of which play prominent roles in the development of the New World. And then it lists the names of these men. But I'm going to drop down. It says, as Columbus returns to the island of Hispaniola, his ships are loaded with all types of foodstuffs, seeds, plants, and domestic animals, including horses, cattle, sheep, hogs, and chickens, to maintain the colonies he expects to establish. Other organisms also make the voyage. They are in the soil, on the plants, and inside and on the animals. These are all types of parasites, insects, seeds, worms, fungi, and other new life forms not native to North and South America. These non-native organisms will be responsible for permanent major changes in the ecosystems of the New World. As an example of the other changes these European life forms will bring, there were no hogs in the New World. Columbus brought 8 on his voyage to the island of Cuba. In 20 years, there would be 30,000 hogs in Cuba alone. I know this may seem like a history lesson, but it's certainly the history we should have received. So this says, the natives report that several of the 39 men he had left behind. So when he left the first time, he left some of his men behind. So the natives report that 39 had killed each other in arguments, and that the Indians had killed the remainder because of, among other things, the Europeans' greed for gold and the native women. So this is talking, this Mr. Weber, there's a writing in the Encyclopedia of California's Catholic Heritage that says, surely it is a marvel in the history of the modern world that the relatively small nation of Spain, most of whose blood and treasure are already committed to the European theater, could embark upon and actually succeed with a handful of men in taking possession of the Caribbean archipelago, and from that base to diffuse Iberian culture, law, religion, and language to more than half the population of the 2 American continents. Perhaps the following commentary will help to explain how this was possible. It says, when Columbus first lands in the Bahamas, these islands are home to as many as 80,000 native people. 10 years later, the Bahamas are uninhabited. The people killed by disease or taken away to serve as slaves in Spain's colonies in the New World. It says, unfortunately, according to historian C.W. Saram, Columbus becomes the first in a long line of slave hunters plying the outlying islands of the North American continent for human chattel. By 1518, due to imported European diseases and difficult forced labor, captive Caribbean natives begin to die off in large numbers, and the importation of African slaves begins. The Africans, listen to this, the Africans are less vulnerable to the European diseases. This goes on to say, before Columbus, ailments such as smallpox, influenza, hepatitis, measles, encephalitis, and viral pneumonia, the bacteria that causes tuberculosis, diphtheria, cholera, typhus, scarlet fever, good gracious, and bacterial meningitis were all unknown in the Western Hemisphere, according to historian Charles C. Mann. Wow. It says smallpox and measles attacked the Indians in what one expert describes as possibly the greatest demographic disaster in the history of the New World. History of the world. It says 3/4 or more of the natives of the New World were killed in the 16th and 17th centuries by imported diseases. There has never been any event like it in human history. So historian David Weber asserts that it may be that disease, the least visible transatlantic baggage, was Spain's most important weapon in the conquest of America. My God. So who else is connected to the Basque? This article from Basque Tribune asks the question, will a Jesuit pope boost Basque tourism? Why would the pope boost tourism in Basque country? Let's find out. The article said, recently, the Buenos Aires newspaper published a story about the impact on tourism in Argentina by the first Argentine pope of all history. And it seems that there has been a significant increase. A similar question has begun to circulate in the Basque country. Being a Jesuit pope, will it bring a boost in religious tourism in this country? The Society of Jesus, whose members are commonly known as the Jesuits, was founded in 1539 by, among others, the Universal Basque, Saint Ignatius of Loyola, and Saint Francis Xavier, and has deep historical roots in Basque land. And this is a picture of Saint Ignatius, founder of the Jesuits. I hope that you all are connecting the dots. I'm trying to not add my comments as much as possible because I know there's a lot of information here that I want to cover. But hopefully you're understanding and making the connections. This comes from the National Catholic Reporter. It says, to understand Pope Francis, look to the Jesuits. You all do know that there are two popes, right? There's a black pope and a white pope, and it has nothing to do with the color of the skin. The one you don't see, who is working behind the scenes, is called the black pope. So this article was written in 2008, and it was talking about how the Jesuits gathered in Rome to elect their new black pope. It says, there won't be any white smoke to tell the world he has been elected. But another sort of secret conclave began in Rome on Monday to choose the worldwide Jesuit leader who is known as the Black Pope. Let's keep going. It goes on to say at Jesuit headquarters a block from the Vatican, 225 delegates from around the world will choose a new superior general to run the largest and perhaps most influential, controversial, and prestigious Catholic clerical order. Their leader is traditionally known as the Black Pope because of the color of the simple cassock he wears, and because, like the Pope who dresses in white, he has worldwide influence and usually keeps the position for life. Interesting stuff. So, of course, my wheels began turning, and I wanted to know where the majority of popes came from. What country? So here you go. Of the 266 popes, 217 are from, you guessed it, Italy. Now you do see that there has been 3 from Africa, and I just had to know what they look like. So let's check it out. So this information comes from the National Black Catholic Congress. This is the first one. His name was Pope Victor I. And his feast day was July 28th. Let's keep going. This was the second Pope Militates. His feast day is December 10th. Ta-da! This is the third one. The three popes of African origins. This is the last one, named Pope Gelasius. And his feast day is November 21st. So the three African popes. Seriously. Okay, we'll keep going. So why is all of this important anyway? Because we need to remember, as this article from the Amsterdam News says, the major role the Catholic Church played in slavery. We cannot forget this. This is the connection here. Let's keep going. Most of us are familiar with this verse of scripture from Hosea 4:6. It says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Now, some may say it's a lack of knowledge of the scriptures. Think about how many black churches we have on almost every corner. We have to understand scripture and know scripture, but we also have to understand scripture as it pertains to this beast system. We have to use the word to overcome it. But if you don't know what you're fighting, then how can you defeat it? There was a reason why our people were not allowed to read, why there was a law made to keep us from learning how to read, from purposely changing our name, purposely removing our heritage so that we would forget who we were as a people, purposely separating the children from the older generations so that they couldn't pass that history on. All of this is connected. So we have to learn this information. It was kept from us for a reason. There was a reason history was whitewashed. There was a reason for that. So I know it's a lot, but I'm telling you, there is so much more. There is so much more. And we're going to learn this. Just hang in there with me. It's time to know the truth, you all. It's time to know the truth, and we have to share it with others. I pray that this has been a blessing to you, and we'll keep going with this in the next session. So, shalom, everyone.